Good evening, everybody. This is lecture one for the Simultaneous Techniques and Criminal Terminology course. This is a course that will prepare you for your court interpreting program, as well as immigration interpreting program and analytical linguist interpreting program. It certainly does not prepare you for the medical interpreting program at this point. We're going to move up the volume just to make sure that you are okay with the volume. I believe it is fine now. So having said that, this particular course is unique in itself because it's going to be introducing to all of you vocabulary that is criminal. And keep in mind, if you're in the immigration program, immigration includes criminal terminology, and so it does in terms of the analytical linguist. So we're going to be learning terminology. We're going to be learning a technique which called simultaneous, and we're going to be learning the difference. The first, I would say, the first 3 or 4 proceedings in a criminal case. Arraignments, pre-trials, those type of proceedings we're going to be learning in this particular course. Let me just go over some basics that have to do with the the way we're going to be connecting. We will connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time until 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We usually take a break around 7:40 Pacific Standard Time. The break is 25 minutes. I'm supposed to give you 10 minutes for each hour of instruction. So we take just one break, 25 minutes, because we usually may start a couple of minutes late, or maybe we come back a couple of minutes late. So just to make sure that you get all the class time that you are entitled to. And so it's only 25 minutes instead of 30 minutes. So that will be the break, 7:40 until 8:05. This is Pacific Standard Time again. And this particular course, you can ask questions anytime. All you got to do, if you look at below the player, you're going to see that there is a chat function. Just you have to put your name. If you don't want to put your name, is fine. But then you can certainly ask any questions you may want to ask, and I'll answer. Usually not immediately, but maybe within 5 minutes or so, I'll be answering your questions. Now, let me show you here what, let's see, let me show you your site so that we can go over as to what are the features that are included in your site. Let me just stop this because it looks really odd, okay? Well, I don't look too good there, so let me just play it. Oh, that's even worse. Oh my God. That's better. Well. Okay, that's better. So what you see here is basically your site. And one of the things that you're going to see is that you have on top, download class manual. So if you click on it, and you should do that, you're going to have the class manual for this course. And today, this is all divided by lecture numbers. So today is lecture number 1. So in lecture number 1, we're going to be looking at arraignments. Okay, so that's something you can, if you want to print this out, is fine. If you want to keep it in digital form, is fine. When you click on it, it opens a new tab, so you can always go back and go back to your manual as you please. Then you have, you're going to notice that once the lecture is over today at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, whenever I use the time is Pacific Standard. That lecture is going to stay here until Tuesday around 12 noon. What that means is going to stay here on this main page. And it's going to say live lecture week 1. But on Tuesday after 12 noon, we prepare this for lecture number 2, for week number 2. Whenever you see that the main page has a player that says this event has not started yet, then you can always go to the sites here, like for example, week number 1, and you can click on it, and you'll be able to see lecture number 1, okay? Which is the same lecture that is going on right now. And this is, if you go to lecture number 2, there is nothing because we haven't had lecture number 2. But if once we finish lecture number 1, which is week number 1, stays here until Tuesday noon. And it is also here where it says week 1 on the left side. So if you're unable to attend class on a Wednesday for whatever reason, and you want to watch this lecture after that, then you just basically click where it says the week that you missed. You have to remember what week, right? So it's not a bad idea to write down, the date and the week number. Maybe you can do that on a paper or maybe in the material next to where it says lecture 1, for example. You can put the date if you like, right below if you are printing it out. And therefore you will know which week you're missing, right? If you could not make it, let's say next Wednesday for lecture number 2, then you will click on week number 2 after the class is offered. Obviously, you won't be able to see to ask any questions, because then if you don't take this class Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you will be taking this basically on demand, okay? It's after the fact. So we have all 4 weeks. You can access, there are 4 weeks of lecture, and week number 5 is your final examination, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, we also have below that, it says schedule final, just make it a little bit bigger. It's in your menu now, and it says schedule final oral. Don't worry about this. I'm going to let you know in week number 4. I'm going to let you know how to do that. We don't have any schedule already for your final examination. That takes place in week number 5. So there will be, if you were to click there, after week number 4, you're going to be able to see all the times that are available and the dates. You select one and that's it. Then you also have an option to take the written exam, which right now you won't see it, but there is obviously an option for that, because in this class you need to take a written exam and a final exam, and these 2 will happen during week number 5. Usually students take the written exam on that Wednesday, the week number 5, the Wednesday for week number 5, and then also take the oral examination. Okay, so those are the 2 things that you're going to do once we reach week number 5, these 2 things, okay? Then you have, we're going to skip the lab for the time being. We have remedial seminars. What exactly does that mean? Well, we have added some seminars that are provided to you, and you can attend whenever you want. There's one seminar on simultaneous, one seminar on consecutive, one seminar on English syntax articles, relative clause, reporting event, courtroom protocol, professionalism, and Spanish syntax. They're there for you to watch anytime, and they're going to be there throughout the program. When I monitor you, I usually start monitoring you in week number 2. When I monitor you, then what you will do is I will tell you, make sure you watch this seminar or this other seminar, whatever the case is. And then, that's what it means when I talk about a remedial seminar. So let me just answer this question now. Lecture already started. Give me 1 second. Lecture already started. Please refresh page. All right, so going back to this. So these seminars, you can watch them without any, it's up to you. If you have a free time, you can do that. You can watch it. Or make sure that if I assign any of those remedial seminars, you do watch them, the seminars, during that week or whatever the case is. Some of them are, Spanish syntax, which is very helpful. It's about 2 hours long, so on and so forth. So that's actually remedial seminars. You're not going to be tested on those, It's just something extra, right? As something that you can have available and so on and so forth in case you want to. Now, this class comes with live office hours, and there are two possible dates for you to access the live office hours. And I have other instructors in those live office hours simply because I monitor you here in class, and it's a good idea to have another instructor monitor you when you go to the live office hours, so you get a different perspective of your interpreting skills. So when you click on live office hours here at the bottom, okay, right here, this blue button, it's going to tell you, right now it's offline clearly, but it's going to tell you when these office hours take place. They are up until the end of this year. And in your case, you will want to do, it says for all students except professional translation. And because you are in the core program, this applies to you. So every Monday from 4 p.m. Pacific Standard to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard, if you come to your site and you click on where it says live office hours, then instead of saying offline, it will say online. And you will click on that and you will be able to access the live office hours. So we have live office hours on Mondays from 4 to 6 Pacific Standard, and Saturdays from 1 to 3, also Pacific Standard Time. These are the two sessions that are live office hours that we have for the program. What will happen when you go to these office hours, you may say, well, what's the point of going to the office hours? What am I going to get out of it? Okay, so let's say that I assign, for example, a practice in your lab, such as arraignment. And you have been practicing during the week, and now you want to see how you're doing. Well, go to the live office hours and ask the interpreter, the assistant, or the instructor, they're all instructors as well, to monitor you. So you say, can you monitor me while I'm interpreting in arraignment, and give me your feedback? The whole point is that what you want to do is you want to make sure that somebody who has the experience can listen to your interpretation and identify any things that need to be corrected. That's the whole point of the live office hours. There is no grade, there is no assessment, there is absolutely nothing. It's just basically for you to access whenever you want. It's not mandatory, but it's highly suggested. And you don't have to go to both sessions. Some people prefer to go to the Monday session, other people Saturday. And the fact that they are, let's say, on Monday from 4 to 6, it doesn't mean that you're going to spend 2 hours in the live office hours. Sometimes it's a matter of 10, 15 minutes, and then you will be done. So it doesn't take too long to get this done. But clearly you want to go to the live office hours after you have done work at home in the laboratory, after you have studied what I actually assign for the next week. Sometimes you don't want the instructor in the live office hours to monitor you. So you may have questions. I'm studying these terms. I'm having a hard time remembering them. Do you have any suggestions? Just any type of questions that you need an immediate answer, and they apply to this course, will be the purpose of you attending these live office hours. So right now it's clearly offline, but again, it's Mondays from 4 to 6 and Saturdays from 1 to 3 Pacific Standard Time. The other thing that we have here, which is really important, is the online laboratory. And it says Access Online Lab. So let's click on it and let's see what we get there. Online laboratory for all weeks. Okay, so here today we're in week number 1. So clearly we're going to be working on arraignments, right? Whatever we discussed in class is what we are going to. So you see, I'm going to talk about arraignments here and some vocabulary that pertains to arraignments. And then we're going to look at arraignments as well. Then I'm going to assign some arraignments from your class manual. And the only piece that is missing is for you to actually practice to interpret these arraignments. So that's why they are under week number 1. And if you click where it says arraignment, we're not going to play it right now. Sorry about that. But it gives you all the instructions, okay? And it tells you the length of the practice is 20. Oh, sorry about that. I have to show it to you. So this is, let me just go back and do this again. So as I was mentioning, this is in the Access Online Lab. So when you click on Access Online Lab, it's going to take you to this site. If you have no volume, okay, let me answer that. All you have to do is click on the player, and the volume will work. So on the you click on online. Let's do this again. Online Access Online Lab, and when you click on it, you have everything by week numbers. So again, week number 1 is all dedicated to arraignments. So you will click where it says arraignment, and what you will do here is you will do the practice as is indicated to you. And it's indicated right here. Download the translated script, review the script and all that stuff. So everything is pretty much is an instruction of what you need to do. Now, this is when you play the audio, but usually this material in your class, in most cases, you will have its translated script. So if you click on the translated script, you're going to have the script of the whole audio, which is in English, the audio, and the translation in bold letters right below. So you can actually prepare, you can actually work at home and learn all these terms and learn all these phrases, so that when you go to play this, you can definitely, you press play here and you're going to be playing the arraignment, which will coincide with the script. So the first thing you're going to see is, this is the case of the people versus Alberto Zamora, and you have to interpret at the same time. Is Alberto Zamora your true and correct name? And you just interpret everything at the same time, okay? So I will give you all these instructions, but the purpose of this portion of the lecture is to show you all the features of your platform, okay? So that you basically can take advantage of all these features. So once again, if you need to watch a class that took place in, a week before or 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, you just click on the week number. The final exam, oral, and the written exam, this is something we're going to discuss in week number 4, so don't worry about it for the time being. There are remedial seminars that are not mandatory, but sometimes they are suggested to each of you individually. There is the live office hours that we already discussed, are held on Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard and Saturdays 1 to 3 Pacific Standard Time. And then you have the online laboratory where you will access the material to practice. Because you have to keep in mind that this is basically, there are 3 different areas here. It's the lecture, which is why I explained in the lecture. Then we have the class manual, and then we have the lab. So all those 3 things have to work together. In other words, you have to be able to study them. So you come to class, you learn material in class, you study that material. Then you go to the lab, to the class manual, and you learn the material for that week number 1 or lecture number 1. And the loop is closed once you complete the laboratory for that week. Or sometimes we will spend a lot of time on week number 1, for example, on arraignment. So maybe I give you 2-3 weeks to complete that. So that's how you close the loop, and everything is presented to you in a way that it basically connects, each part connects with each other. Okay. So that's basically the features of your platform. If there is any question, please feel free to ask a question in your chat function, and I'll be able to answer it if you have any question. If not, I'll usually takes about, there's a delay of 20 seconds or so. If not, then I'm going to begin with the lecture now. So let's see if there is any questions. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to ask any questions. All right, I don't think there is any, but if there is any, please feel free to ask. And so we should begin now with the lecture itself. So I connected an 8 p.m. chart, but I wasn't able to do so. The class begins at 6. I don't know where you are. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're in the East Coast, that's 9 p.m. Materials for the lecture are to be studied after the lecture or before? After. That's a good question. It's always after, not before. You don't have to study it before. How long do lectures typically go on for? Each lecture is about 2 hours, and it's 3 hours, but you have to remove from those 3 hours the 25-minute break. So we do from 6 to 7:40. That's an hour and 40 minutes. And then it's just that usually the first part is the longest one. And then at 8:05 until 8:55, another 50 minutes will complete the whole lecture. If we attend office hours, will you be notified? No. Oh, in Texas, it should be 2 hours. I don't know what time it is in Texas now, Paula, but okay. So would I be notified if there's any office hours or anything like that? Not necessarily, although I do get a report sometimes. If the evaluator works with you on a regular basis, I do get a report, but really the way that I know how to, whether you are attending or not, is by checking your progress here in class. So I will know no matter what. So apparently Paula had some problems connecting at 8 o'clock. What usually happens is that we usually start 10 minutes before, but this time we started exactly at 6 o'clock. And sometimes what happens when you start at 6 o'clock, it depends on your browser. When we start the streaming at 6 o'clock, if you access to the site before we started the streaming, what usually happens for some browsers, for whatever reason, is that even though we start the streaming, it still says that it hasn't started. So my suggestion is that exactly at 6 o'clock, if you access before, at 6 o'clock sharp, just refresh the page. Or you can go out of the page and come back and sign in again, log in again, okay? Because then that will solve any problems whatsoever. Sometimes we always start the stream like 5 minutes before, but it's possible that you access like 10 minutes before. And if you access 10 minutes before and your browser doesn't have the right settings, even though we start with this with the class, it still says that it hasn't started yet. So that's the okay. So there is another thing that it says on the main okay, so you always to unmute your player, click on the player, click on the player. Okay, I should have said it the other way around. Player, not layer, okay? So, it's hard for me to explain this to Maria because Maria could not see me, but let me just write it here. Click on player, and I think it's right click. So that's what you need to do, okay? To unmute it. All these problems usually happens the first. The player is where you're seeing me. So the player is this. This is where you see me. Where you see me. says click anywhere on the player. Click anywhere on the player. Okay. And you can definitely do that. Yeah. Okay. So we usually have this type of issues until you get used to the system, and then these questions do not happen again usually. So it takes a little bit more time in the first lecture. So if you are listening to me, the key, if you are connected, the key thing here is to make sure that if at 6 o'clock you see that it still says the event has not started, go out and come back again, log in again. The safest way is you just always log in 2 minutes before 6 o'clock, and there will not be any issues there. And always unmute the player, okay, by actually clicking somewhere on the player. And then there's a volume control, and make sure your volume is up and all that stuff. Okay, it's because I can see that the streaming is going perfectly fine. There shouldn't be any issues at this point. Okay, so anytime you have a question, please feel free to ask that question, okay? All right, so I'm going to begin now with the lecture. And while I'm lecturing, it's not such a bad idea for you to have 2 notebooks available. One will be for the lectures, and another one will be for your laboratory. The notebooks become very handy because you can take notes. As I'm explaining, you take notes. So as I'm explaining material, which we're going to start shortly, you're going to be taking notes. And the reason why this is very important is because when you are listening to me and taking notes at the same time, that kind of mimics what a technique that you're going to see in the next course, which is consecutive. And so I want you to start training yourself that way. So you take notes in the notebook that refers to your class lectures, and then you take notes when you are actually working on your own in the lab, okay? So usually for the lab, you will write down the title of the practice, and then any word you don't know, any comments. Some students write down, this one is a difficult one, I got to do it again, or whatever the case is, okay? Whatever the case is, it's just more for you. The notebook that is for the lectures is basically for you to register all this and write everything down and then study it, right? Now, the good news about these online programs is that you can always go back, in this case, to week number 1 and watch the video again. You can watch it as many times as you want. So that's a really good advantage. When you teach a class live, right? Once the class is over, you can't really go and watch it again. But in this case, you do have that ability, so you should use that. You should use that option that you have. Just watch the lecture again. Sometimes, let's say I'm lecturing, and right now here is 6:30, and I explain something specifically, something interesting at 6:30 to 6:40, and you couldn't write everything down. Just at least write down kind of the time, so that when you come back and watch the lecture again, maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, whenever, you can forward it to that particular location, and then you don't have to watch the whole lecture again. You can rewind and forward the lecture whenever to whatever you want it to go. All right, so let's just start with this lecture now, and let me just basically use this whiteboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that I am actually a criminal. And the first thing that we want to know is, so how would you actually translate into Spanish the word criminal? Well, the first thing that we need to know about the word criminal, and you must know this because this is part of lecture number 1. So you're going to have to take notes and study it for next week. So the first thing we need to know about the word criminal is that there are 2 different ways that this word can be used. For example, if I say John Doe is a criminal, that's one way. Or you can say, for example, this is the criminal code. Or you can say, for example, this is a criminal act. Or you can say, for example, she is a criminal judge.